الحمد لله رب العالمين، الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى. يا ربي لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صفيه من خلقه وخليله، بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الله به الأمة وجاهد في سبيل ربه حتى أتاه اليقين. فاللهم اجزه عنا وعن والدينا وعن الإسلام والمسلمين خير ما جازيت به نبيا عن قومه ورسولا عن أمته. اللهم احينا على سنته وتوفنا على ملته وأوردنا حوضه، اسقنا من يده الشريفة شربة هنيئة لا نظمأ بعدها أبدا. ثم أما بعد, my dear respected brothers and sisters, the whole world is talking these days about the royal decree in Saudi Arabia that allows women to drive. And apart from the political analysis and what caused this decree to be made now, I am actually, as a person who studies Islamic legal principles, usul al-fiqh, Islamic law, I really, when the first thing came to my mind when I got the news is that I want to listen to the justification of the Saudi scholars. What happened? Because they used to argue for years, for decades, that it is haram. It is Islamically speaking, it's not allowed. Islamic laws against it. It is not only illegal, but also it is against Sharia. And now, all of a sudden, when the king made this order, then I found out that the High Council of Muslim scholars in Saudi Arabia are praising the decision, and they're saying that it is halal, it is good, and it is Sharia actually supports it. And we absolutely have the right to ask what happened, what turned the haram into halal, because we need to understand. We need to understand. In fact, Al-Walid ibn Talal was a very famous and influential Saudi prince, actually was pushing hard to change this tradition and allow women to drive. But the scholars were holding their ground and saying, no, it is haram, it's against Sharia, and so on. And when I actually look at their argument from Sharia perspective, we can find out that there's no textual evidence. There's no ayah or hadith. The Quran says women cannot drive. Otherwise, there is no point for any dispute or debate. If Allah said this or the Prophet said this clearly, then khalas, it is one opinion. We all follow what Allah said and what the Prophet said. But obviously, there's no textual evidence to say it's haram or halal. And most of the cases, we don't have a direct, clear order whether halal and haram, which makes it a very big point that Sharia or Islamic law, as we understand it, is not only coming from the text, but also coming from the human reasoning or ijtihad of the qualified scholars who read the text, and from the general ethical principles they can think of the new cases. So scholars used to base their argument forbidding women from driving on the fact that this is our custom and we must respect the custom. Society is not ready for this. And the second one is what's known, and one of the mechanisms in Islamic law is known as Sep or blocking the means. There's no consensus around the authority of blocking the means. Blocking the means basically means that if something that likely going to lead to evil, then it is prohibited. Not because it's bad in of itself, but because it may lead to evil outcome. So, and they always focus on this concept, saying that if women drive and then if the car is broken, then she's going to be alone and the bad people may harm her, and now she has to have driver's license, and now she, someone may see her face, and seeing the face of the woman is haram, therefore for her to drive is haram, and she may go and do something wrong, and so on and so forth. The possibility that some evil may happen as a result of driving the car. Sadd al-dhara, or blocking the means. Another legal mechanism they use to justify forbidding women from driving is public interest. It is for the interest of the society at large not to allow women to drive. Because I heard from many scholars in different occasions that even smart and strong and healthy men cannot drive easily. So, you know, it's a big burden on women to drive safely. It's going to increase car accidents. It's going to affect the family because women want to be out most of the time, and this will. So all these thoughts of possible harm that may occur as a result of driving women actually made many people believe that it is haram from Sharia perspective for women to drive. And now look at the justification, that Sharia justification by the same scholars. Actually, I feel very sorry for, because they have to contradict themselves, because yesterday it was haram, today it's halal. Not only halal, it is the better, the right, the good decision, and thanks to the king for changing this tradition. What are the justifications? What happened? Did there a new ayah came, or we found a new hadith? No. No, that's not the case. But because the same mechanism, the same tools that I just mentioned, public interest, that's good for the society. That's good for economy. In fact, Al-Walid ibn Talha again was very frank when he said that not allowing women to drive is draining billions of dollars from Saudi economy. And he said the average Saudi family spends almost $1,000 a month to hire a foreign driver to drive their wives and their children around. So by allowing women to drive, then you are saving billions of dollars for them. Oh, that's mashallah, that's public interest. And because this will bring a lot of revenue to the country, then it is maslaha, it is good for the whole society. And also they are saying that that's equality, and equality is an Islamic ethical value, and therefore Sharia promotes it. As if equality, you know, is a new discovery, something that did not exist before, and all of a sudden we found out that there's something called equality in Islam. So using the same mechanism to justify something that was unjustifiable. And another important point now, which is who really makes the Shari'i decision? Who makes the Shari'i decision? Is it the scholars, you know, study Sharia and make decision and everybody must follow, including the king, the political authority, or it goes the other way around? It's very obvious it goes the other way around. It goes the other way around. In Islamic law, we know for sure some cases that, you know, the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very clear in the Quran and the Hadith. And these are all Muslims build consensus regarding some issues, like the prohibition of alcohol and riba and adultery and all these things that are clearly haram. Nobody can dispute this. Now praying 5 times a day, fasting, all these are obligations that no one will dispute this, because Allah made His will very clear. But sometimes Al-Quran does not directly speak about many cases. And the Sunnah of Rasulullah ﷺ does not say anything about some transactions. And this was very obvious when Rasulullah ﷺ sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal to be the judge in Yemen. Before he sent him from Medina to Yemen, he said, Mu'adh, how would you judge? He said, based on the book of Allah. And what the Prophet ﷺ said, what if you don't find the answer in the book of Allah? He said, I will judge based on the Sunnah of Rasulullah ﷺ. And then the Prophet asked, what if you don't find this answer in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ? And he said, I will make my ijtihad. I will make my own reasoning in the light of the ethical principles in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet ﷺ actually got it on his back, and he said that, praise be to Allah who guided the messenger of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In other words, the Prophet approved this process. If it's in the Quran, there's no need for human reasoning. Just apply it, follow. If it's not in the Quran, the authentic hadith, follow it. If it's not there, then you have to make your own ijtihad based on the context in which you live. Needless to say that Saudi Arabia was the only country in the entire world that prohibited women from driving. all other Muslim majority countries allow women to drive. Only in Saudi Arabia. So the Saudi scholars would usually tend to think that their opinion is the right opinion, the only authentic and right opinion. This is Sharia, this is exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. And all other Muslim scholars in Morocco, Algeria, Egypt, in Sudan, in Turkey, in Pakistan, everywhere in the world, they're wrong. And some actually they say, no, that's our society is different, then we have to respect the custom, and then that's unique to us. So, and again, I understand that when a government says that's not permitted from legal perspective, it's different from saying Sharia perspective. But when you say Sharia, Islamic law, you are talking about the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself does not want women to drive. Then we have to be very careful when someone makes such a big claim. I know the will of God. Only Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam knows the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In everything, I mean. Even the Khulafa al-Rashideen, Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali, all these great Sahaba, Abdullah ibn Umar, Abdullah ibn Abbas, Zubayr ibn al-Awwam, all these great scholars and Sahaba, they always, when they make a fiqhi opinion, they say, Allah a'lam, Allah knows best. This is what I think is the right answer to this particular question, but I could be wrong. Imam Shafi'i rahmatullah alayhi used to say that I think my opinion is right, could be wrong, and I believe the other opinions are wrong, but they could be right. Speaking in God's name is very problematic. And that's the seed of fanaticism and extremism. When someone affirms that I speak on behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or on behalf of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that's the only right fiqhi way. Our ulama have almost consensus that لا خلاف أو لا إنكار في المختلف عليه. When you pray a certain way and you see someone praying the other way, don't go and tell him, brother, you're wrong. Because he's following a madhab or scholar. You are following the scholar yourself. You pray your way, let him pray his way, and let's live in peace. Because none of them claim that I represent the will of Allah. It's always probable. That's why our great scholars, when they give fatwa, they say, Wallahu a'lam, Allah knows best. This emphatic statement comes almost after every fatwa because they know that's my understanding. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks clearly, Rasulullah made clear statements, then khalas, there's no room for dispute or disagreements. So this discussion about women driving actually brings all these questions. Who has the authority to make decisions? Is it the political authority or the religious authority? And who really holds the religious authority in the end of the day? It used to be one authority in the time of Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman. Umar radiallahu anhu was a faqih, knowledgeable, but he used to also consult all the Sahaba when big issues happened, did not exist in the time of the Prophet. And he said, did anybody hear anything from Rasulullah regarding this matter? If someone said, yes, I heard the Prophet ﷺ saying that. The plague, one very famous example. Rasulullah said that if you hear about plague in in a land, don't go to it. If it happens when you're in, don't get out. So Umar radiallahu anhu, khalas, Rasulullah spoke. I did not hear Rasulullah saying that, but one of the Sahaba heard him, he's a trustworthy person, then khalas, that's it. But in many other cases, as the Islamic land started growing and growing, new things happen. There's no clear, direct answer in the Quran, there's no direct answer in the Sunnahs. And Umar used to gather the elders, the Sahaba, scholars, and what do you think? What should I do about this? And then, in the end, they reach a decision based on their own ijtihad. Based on their own ijtihad. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward those who make the right ijtihad, even if they were wrong. If a qualified scholar or a bunch of scholars come together and make their own ijtihad to answer a question and they made the wrong decision, Rasulullah said they will be rewarded. Because the process was correct. The intention was good. But even if they made the wrong ijtihad, they'll be rewarded. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us humans to practice ijtihad. To try to understand what Allah wants us to do. When qualified people practice ijtihad, that's very healthy. Even if you have multiple ijtihads, yes, even if we have multiple ijtihad. Legal pluralism is the norm in Islamic history. You have all madhahib living together and people have the freedom to follow any madhab they want. The government has nothing to say. The government cannot force people to follow one madhab or the other. In fact, the government has no authority when they hire a judge to tell the judge that we have to make judgment based on this particular madhab. That's not within the power of the political authority. It's left to the judge to make his own ijtihad in every case and apply justice as he sees fit. Freedom of following any school of thought is the norm. And Muslims actually live very comfortably with this. The government has nothing to do with that. The government does not have a madhab. The government itself, the Khalifa, does not have a madhab. It cannot enforce it. And when one of the Khalifa tried to do this, it is the ulama who stopped them. Abu Ja'far al-Mansur, the very famous and strong, powerful Abbasi caliph, and he liked al-Muwatta of Imam Malik. He wrote his very famous book in fiqh, al-Muwatta, that contains the most authentic ahadith in this book. And he's the first one, perhaps, who wrote a book of fiqh in the order that we know now. Talk about tahara, salah, zakah, hajj, and so on. That was perhaps the most famous book at that time. Abu Ja'far al-Mansur wanted to make copies of al-Muwatta and send it to all cities and to consider Muwatta the official book of fiqh. And every judge must make judgment based on al-Muwatta. Every mufti must make fatwa based on al-Muwatta. That will be the textbook in every Islamic school. And it was Imam Malik himself, the author of al-Muwatta. He said, no, this is not how it works. This is not how it works. The Sahaba of Rasulullah, he said the Sahaba of Rasulullah, they spread everywhere, and everyone has a knowledge that the other does not have. If you force people to follow one madhab, that would ruin Islam, Islamic law. That will make things very tough on people. Let people practice ijtihad, let the fuqaha and ulama have their own opinions, and that's the norm, that's healthy, that's good. What's not good, what's not healthy, what's very destructive and harmful is when one of these schools claim that I hold the absolute truth. It is as if they are directly or indirectly saying that we are prophets. Only prophets who know exactly what Allah wants. So this example actually of the Saudi decision to allow women to drive bring all these facts in our minds, that Islamic law is supposed to be flexible and consider the context in which people live. I'm not for or against the decision. That's not my business to judge. I'm not criticizing the Saudi government or the Saudi scholars. I'm someone who just like to think about how Islamic law is made. And my question here is that how many other things that we think are prohibited by Allah and His Messenger, but it's not. But it is not. How many other things that we think it's haram? Yeah, because someone 500 years ago said it's haram, then it became haram. Because this ummah, since almost the 8th century, Hijri century, creativity died in this ummah, and we just rely on what others have produced. Always go and read what others have said. Could be in an extremely different context, different circumstances, but we still consider this to be almost equal to Quran. It's human ijtihad, human opinion, human reasoning that fit perfectly their time and place, but does not mean that it can fit all times and places. This is the source of rigidity of what many think that Islamic law. Islamic law has never been rigid. It is we who, our understanding of Islamic law that made it rigid. Because we simply borrow opinions that have been made hundreds of years ago and thousands of miles away, and we try to It followed here in the United States in the 21st century. I'm not suggesting that we should ignore everything written in the past. This is not what I'm saying. But we have tons of opinions. Tons of opinions. Even within the same madhab, we have different trends and schools of thought within the school of thought. Which one to pick, which one to leave, that's up to us. Did the madhab answer every question we have now? No, of course not. No one of our great fuqaha in the 4th century talked about organ donation. Well, the organ donation never existed at that time. Now we have to have our own way of thinking. I mean, the scholars, qualified scholars, must look at the harm and the benefit and they make their ijtihad based on that. The other incident that I just want to mention very quickly, the free talaq in India. Indian legal system allow legal pluralism. In other words, when it comes to family law, Indian Muslims have the right to go to a Muslim court, and others have the right to go to a secular court. Almost Indian Muslims are the only council of scholars in the world that say that three talaq is three talaq, done. But that's not the case everywhere in the world. I mean, when someone says to his wife, "We're divorced," now there is no way they can come back together. And of course, children, women pay the price, and sometimes men also pay the price. They want to come back, no, there's no way to come back. That's it. Family is broken and there's no way to bring it back. And who's complaining? Women. Because they cannot work or rely on their husbands, and they have a bunch of children and they don't know what to do. Big problem. It's a huge problem. But again, it is not criticism of Indian scholars, but they also must look at the context and the consequences and the objectives of Sharia. Sharia does not want to impose harm on people. Sharia wants to keep the family together. Al-Quran clearly says, "At-talaqu marratan," talaq 2 times, and then you stay together or you live in peace. No. It's Sharia, and we cannot change Sharia. Ya akhi, look at all Muslim scholars in different Muslim majority countries. You have to be more flexible, because we see issues going on. Families are broken, women are complaining, kids are on the street. Give them another chance. No, that was a big no. It was until the Indian Supreme Court enforced this action. I feel very bad. Why do you have to wait for others to impose their will on us? We need to be really flexible. When other fiqh opinions, valid opinions, that serve our cause and fit our context, what's wrong of changing? Fact is that people are afraid of change. This is what holds us back. Every time we want to take one step forward, this kind of mentality pulls us back. Because we are not looking at our context. We hold holy human opinions has been made in different time and places. Does not really fit our context. Does not fit our context. That's why many people think that, I'm sorry about Islam, my religion does not make a lot of sense. Islam will not make a lot of sense to many people, because again we are trying to implement the understanding of some people who lived hundreds of years ago and thousands of miles away in our context. So it's not going to make any sense. So brothers and sisters, we should not be afraid of change. We should not be afraid. Every system in the world needs to repair itself, renew itself. There's no one solid, perfect system. Every system must renew itself. Renew itself. This is what Rasulullah ﷺ said in the authentic hadith about Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send every 100 years to this ummah who will renew the religion for them. We talked before about the concept of renewal, reform, and revive. It's Islamic concept that we have to renew our understanding of Islam all the time based on the change of our context. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. Brothers and sisters, just a quick reminder. Tomorrow is the day of Ashura. The Jewish community also celebrate Yom Kippur, which is a very important day for them, and these two religious communities are celebrating commemorating the instant when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved Musa alayhi salam and the Israelites from Egypt. And when Rasulullah came to Medina and found the Jews celebrating this day and said this is the day when Allah saved Musa, he said, and they said Musa used to fast this day alayhi salam. So Rasulullah said that we have more right to Musa than you. And he ordered everyone to fast the day of Ashura. So it's the sunnah of Musa alayhi salam. And Rasulullah confirmed this sunnah by fasting this day and ordering everyone to fast the day of Ashura, which will be tomorrow. And if you can fast a day before or a day after, that will also be part of the sunnah. And Rasulullah said fasting this single day of Ashura, inshallah, he said that Allah will forgive all the sins committed in the past year. So I urge all of you to make your effort to fast tomorrow, inshallah, to make plenty of dua, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from all of us. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. اللهم إنا نسألك رزقا طيبا وعملا متقبلا. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا ورزقا واسعا وشفاء من كل داء. ونسألك الغنى عن الناس يا رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نسألك من الخير كله عاجله وآجله ما علمنا منه وما لم نعلم. ونعوذ بك من الشر كله عاجله وآجله ما علمنا منه وما لم نعلم. نسألك من كل خير سألك منه عبدك ونبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. ونعوذ بك من كل شر استعاذك منه عبدك ونبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم اشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين وارحم موتانا وموتى المسلمين وانصر الإسلام وعز المسلمين. اللهم تقبل منا صالح أعمالنا يا رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نسألك يا رب العالمين في هذا اليوم العظيم أن تغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. فستذكرون ما أقول لكم وأفوض أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد وأقم الصلاة.